Yeah, man. First question I got, I know there's been a bit of, awful activities going on in the world at the moment, and then because of those activities, a few bands like Lamb of God and Five Finger Death Punch have had to cancel some dates. I'm just wondering, are all your tours secure? Are you still going to go through with all the shows and whatnot?
Well, everything that we've got going on, well, the immediate future is all stateside anyways. So
Okay, yeah.
we've got a Dallas New Year's show, and then we've got a St. Pete show on the 28th. And other than that, the next thing we have on the schedule is you guys in March. So we should be fine with everything that we've got right now,
Yeah.
I mean, God forbid anything terrible happen between now and then, which, I'm sure it will. But, I mean, it's it's one of those tough things. It's like I totally understand where they made the call that they did, I don't blame them for making that call. A buddy of mine, Mark Shimani, just went over there, and, of course, my wife asked me how I felt about it, and I said, look, it's a decision that every person has to make on their own, different set of circumstances and all that stuff. I mean, on one side, I absolutely don't want to live in fear and kind of let, the terrorists dictate how we go about, doing our business and stuff like that. But if you've had a direct threat or anything like that, it's like, you know what, at this point in time, take it seriously. Life's not worth a show, having a good time and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's that fine line that you got to toe, because you can't let them, make the calls on this for much longer than they already have, But such a sad scenario. I mean, it's a crazy state of the world that we live in these days.
Yeah, it's definitely some terrifying stuff going on. But in other news,
sure.
you do have a new album out. It's been out for about a month now. It's called Kill the Floor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering, how have the crowd's been reacting to the new material so far?
Great. We've only been able to really do 2 new songs. So once again, Australia's going to get the advantage of getting more new material before anyone else hears it. So hopefully we'll be able to get another at least 2 or 3 songs into the set by the time we do the headline run. So we're really looking forward to that. The Australian run will be the first run that we're actually doing nothing but headline show for the entire run. We've done a couple of headliners as fill-in dates and stuff like that, like on the Godsmack run, but we haven't done a proper, run of actual headline shows. So that'll be the kickoff. Australia will be officially our beginning of the headline sequence.
Yeah, now I'm really looking forward to it, because I've seen you guys before, but always seem to catch you at festivals, which is a lot of fun. But festivals,
Sure.
they're only a half an hour set, and I'd rather see you guys do a full hour and a half or whatever.
Right. Exactly. That's the whole negative thing. If there's any negative at all about doing any of those festivals, Soundwave and stuff like that, it's just the length of time for the amount of money that people actually have to spend on the tickets. A lot of the fans get to see so many other bands, so they don't care. But there's a lot of fans that are like, I'm only really going there to see a couple of bands, and it's a pretty steep ticket price to pay for, like you said, a 30 or a 40-minute set, something like that. So for us, it's going to be awesome to be able to get in there and do a full, 90-minute, do a full headline show, and really, play a lot of songs that I think a lot of fans may not expect to be hearing. But we just don't get there often enough, so we need to make this one count.
Yeah, I remember the last time I saw you guys, you did a bit of a mash-up covers part of the show where you did Walk and Master of Puppets. Now, I'm not sure if I'm right or not, but back in the days, did you actually perform Walk with Dimebag Darrella, or am I just making that up?
We did it one time. We were actually on tour with a band. Vinnie Paul and Dimebag had a little side project that they had out of Texas called Gasoline, and they had another band that actually, I believe, had 1 or 2 of the members of that band that we were playing out on tour with, and they just showed up one day. Literally, we were in Texas. I think we had 3 or 4 dates in Texas, and they literally followed us around. They were off, so they just hopped in a bus and literally went from town to town, just like we did, but, just hanging out. So the last night that we actually had on that run with their band was in Dallas, so we got down up on stage, tuned them up, put them into my rig, and I've actually got some pictures in my studio. It was actually a pretty surreal experience, but such great dudes,
Yeah, that'd be killer. I was a bit young when Pantera was still playing, so I never got the chance to see him live, but I did meet Vinnie Paul not long ago. He was a really nice guy. I'm just wondering, when was the first time you met that crew, and did you click off when you first met? Do you hit it off?
The first time when I met who? I'm sorry.
When you first met the Pantera guys.
Oh, well, I lived in Dallas from like 99 up until right around 2001. I lived there for a few years, so that's when we kind of did most of our hanging. But it was all on that first record. You know, we toured so many shows on our first Sevendust record here in the States. We were kind of hard to get away from. Like, at first we couldn't get a tour, and then we couldn't get off a tour. You know, it was crazy. It was like on the beginning of the cycle, you beg and plead for any show that you can get on. And then at the end of it, it was like, okay, you got the Limp Bizkit offer, then you got the Megadeth offer, then you got the Ozfest offer, now you have a big headline offer, and it was like, holy moly, you know, I mean, we thought we were going home, but the last 6 to 8 months was just a whirlwind. And that's kind of when those guys started hanging out with us, you know, because we were just kind of, you know, really making our name and getting around. And that was back in the day where, you know, we'd play Dallas 8 times on an album cycle. You know, I think we played New York probably 12 times, 14 times, something ridiculous like that. But yeah, I mean, pretty much from the very, very beginning. I mean, they were such a hugely influential band for us. And me living in Dallas added that extra step, so it was kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, for sure. I remember when I was back in high school, you guys were really one of the biggest bands out there. It was back in the time when, you know, Limp Bizkit and, you know, Korn and all those Cold Chamber, those bands were massive. But what was that time like? Because we'll call it new metal or alternative metal, whatever they call it, but it was just such a big movement at the time. What was that period like for you guys?
It was weird because I think we were more related because we played loud guitars. We were tuned down. We had a black singer, so everyone thought that we were a rap metal band. So we fit into the new metal, you know, category pretty easy on the surface. But, you know, it was funny because it was like, on the one hand, you know, to tie in the whole Pantera influence and thing, they were one of the few bands that could get away with still playing guitar solos through the 90s and the beginning of the 2000s. Like, you know, guitar solos had become so out of style there, but Dime was still, you know, ripping away. And it was kind of weird because the Metallicas and the Panteras, you know, I think I was a little bit more in tune with. But yeah, you know, new metal came out, and no one wanted to play guitar solos anymore. So I was kind of in a weird spot. It was like, it was cool that it focused on the music, because I think guitar solos for the sake of the guitar solos is stupid. If it adds something to the song, then it certainly needs to be there. But it was a weird rule because, you know, with Korn and Limp Bizkit and all these bands, you know, kind of getting a lot of hype and a lot of love, it was like the guitar solo just kind of, you know, and went on the bench for a while, which was kind of cool. But I'm, you know, I was the guy who was always sneaking up there to see what Dimebag was doing next door when, you know, Soundgarden was playing all their one-finger chords, and I'm over there watching Pantera and watching him play, you know, Domination or Cowboys from Hell or something. So it was an interesting time to be a part of, but it was a frustrating time because we never. I totally understand why people call us new metal, but we never really were new metal. I mean, our influences weren't that, you know. I mean, most of our influences guitar-wise are guys that can play, you know, really play. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I mean, you know, if you're trying to compare, you know, somebody like me to a guy where someone like Dimebag, that's kind of the reference that I'm making. But, yeah, new metal was I loved it. I really did. You know, as much as I was a big, you know, Pantera and Metallica fan, when Korn first came out, it was just different. It was a breath of fresh air for me. I was like, okay, this is this doesn't sound like the last 5 Pantera, you know. And Limp Bizkit was the same thing. But then, you know, after, you know, 5 or 8 years, all of a sudden that starts to get watered down, and then you've got a second and a third version of every one of those bands. And, you know, it's funny because some of the bands actually kind of, I guess Disturbed was considered new metal, and Disturbed went on hiatus and came back, and they didn't lose any momentum or any speed. But it's funny because, you know, you look at a band like Disturbed and you say, okay, well, they're new metal, and then you go, okay, well, what is Five Finger? And they're like, well, they're not new metal. But it's the same kind of music, and it's the same kind of fans. You know, they like guitar solos, they like loud and heavy music, and those two bands could tour together easily. But a lot of people say that, you know, Five Finger's metal and, you know, Disturbed is new metal. So I don't know where we are. I'm just happy we have some kind of a label at this point in our career. You know, if they're calling us something, I'm pretty happy about it.
It felt like after a while, like towards the late 2000s, new metal wasn't as cool as it used to be. Was there ever a point where you guys were like, oh, we want to get away from this sound or anything like that?
I think the whole time, because we didn't really, I sort of understood what new metal was, and I got the fact that if you didn't tune to standard, that you were going to get lumped in. From a musical standpoint, anyone who tuned down was kind of like, all right, maybe you're new metal. We just kind of did our own thing through all of it. Like, I don't think we really ever sat down and said, okay, we want to make like a Pantera record, or we want to make a Metallica record, or we want to make a Korn record, or we want to make an Alice in Chains record or something like that. We never specifically said, this is our direction. We're kind of one of those weird bands. When we sit down to make a record, I know a lot of bands probably have the big war room meeting where they talk about, inspiration and influences and where they want to record and how they want to record. But for us, it's kind of more of one of those things where we just kind of let the music come to us. We don't try to force soft songs, acoustic songs, anything like that. It's just the nature of kind of how we make music. So for us, it wasn't super frustrating because, at first being called new metal wasn't a bad thing. And then being called new metal was a really bad thing. And now being called new metal is kind of a cool thing because all these old new metal bands are coming back around. So I'm like,
it sure is.
It's fine. We're definitely associated with all those bands, so I don't have a problem with it,
Yeah, for sure. Now, I'm just wondering, I haven't asked this question to anyone before, but, you're probably a guy like me once that, dreamed of being a rock star and you think it's going to be the greatest thing ever. It's going to be girls and cocaine everywhere. But, now that you've been famous, you've been through it all, is it as good as you thought it would be when you're a 16-year-old kid?
If people realize, trust me, some of the stories that, you hear, the legend and all that stuff, I'm sure they're not far from untrue, but the amount of times and how often that those things happen are so few and far between, it's not even funny. And it depends on the band. It's like we've been through so many, personal trials, tribulations, and business stuff. For us, it's kind of a different thing. It's like, I guess, I don't know. I enjoy my mornings and my days too much to be hungover all the time and to be feeling bad all day long. I like to work out. I like to get out, when we're traveling around. I don't. Especially when it's wintertime and it's dark and it's cold and stuff like that. You're like, you kind of want to get out of the bus during the waking hours of the day. So you'd be shocked at how many people are hanging out after the show eating combos. You know what I mean? You hear about all the Motley Crue and stuff like that, but it's not quite the party everyone really thinks that it is, or at least 24/7. There's definitely a time and a place for it, but a lot more mellow backstage,
Yeah, did you party a lot more back in your younger days, or you just got a bit old and sick of that sort of lifestyle?
Both. I think when you're younger, you can bounce back from it more. You kind of, it's just something everyone, I think goes through, to what extent you go through it is totally up to you and your scenario and, the band and your personality or whatever. But, for me, it's just, as we got older and we kind of started settling down, each of us got married and we started having families and stuff, those things kind of start to take a little bit more priority in your life. And it's like a balancing act, our lives aren't just Sevendust. Sevendust is an enormous part of it, but our personal lives and our families and our wives and children and the folks that we've got back home, they're as important as anything else, And I think those are the things that, when you're 20 and you don't have any of that, you're not really focused on it. You're not so thinking about, you're thinking about yourself. You're thinking about, hey, I'm going to go and party. I don't have a care in the world. And it's different once all of a sudden you have those things and you start to reprioritize your life. But, it's not easy, when you're in your 40s to get up there and try to act the fool like you did when you were in your 20s and try to bounce back from it, day in, day out on tour. So,
you guys
it's just easier for me.
Yeah. You guys still look pretty good for your age, but is it hard to, keep fit and
stuff on
tour and, lift weights? Do you do anything like that on the bus?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where I think you just kind of make the personal choice. I'm a super, super habit-forming human being. Like, if I get into a rhythm and I get into a pattern of doing things at a certain time of the day, like the touring lifestyle, I think, has really changed just my approach to everything, like in life and how I, run my day and stuff like that. it's not as difficult as it may seem. Even the eating part of it. Like we're doing the Shine Down Break and Bend tour right now, and a lot of people are complaining it's too difficult to eat what good on the road. And I laugh because I go, well, we're catered every day. So you have catering 3 meals a day. It's just a personal choice of what you decide you want to eat, because there's always a really, really good food option. You know, you can have the fried chicken or you can have a salad. You know, the choice is yours which side of the room you're going to walk to when you walk into catering. But it's not that difficult, you know, between the food options that that we have available out here on tour. And there's so many of us that like to work out. Like Shine Down, they actually bring their equipment into the arena. They have an elliptical trainer and they have a big TV, and they do a lot of videos and cardio things. Clint loves to do CrossFit. CrossFit is his kind of new thing that he's gotten into. Vinny, goes out running every day. I'm more of a kind of straight up lifting kind of a guy. But I mean, even on a bad week, we're still hitting the gym 2 or 3 days a week. So, for us, it's kind of our therapy, and, it just kind of sorts the day out and, kind of lets you unplug and you can burn some steam off. And I don't know, I mean, at my age, I definitely feel better than I did when I was in my 20s.
Yeah, you still,
I may not be able to stay up as late.
Do you still ever hit the mosh pit or anything and go watch other bands just from the pit, or are you more of a side of the stage guy these days?
I'm more of a side of the stage guy, especially if I'm going to be hanging out with my wife, because she's not getting in the pit, but she's more of a hang on the balcony and bang her head all night long and swing her hair around. So
for sure.
We're getting as much done from a visual standpoint for sure. But definitely getting in the pit is one of those things where it's like, oh man, yeah. I don't want to say I'm too old for it, but I'm getting there.
Yeah, I'm getting there too. I better let you go because I know you got a busy schedule, but I'm really pumped for the show, man. I just can't wait. I'm going to be up the front. I'm doing photos as well for the website, so I'll be sending those free on Facebook and whatnot for you.
Nice. Well, we're really, really looking forward to it. I know we were bummed out when we were, going through all the Soundwave stuff and, are we coming, are we not coming, and all that good stuff. So it's nice for us to be able to lock something like this in and do it for real. And we're, so looking forward to playing the full headline show over there. That's the one huge advantage that we have by doing it this way. So for us, we're really excited about this run.
Yeah, cool as, man. Well, I hope you enjoyed the tour, man, and I'll see you when you come down.
Sounds good, brother. We're looking forward to it.
Enjoy your day, man.
Okay, man. All right, you too. All right.